We hadn't touched in over a year.
She expected the judge to believe the baby was mine.
Until I revolved my vasectomy.
I walked into the courthouse that morning expecting the usual slow, bitter grind of a divorce. Nothing dramatic, just more paperwork, more arguments over money and assets. But the moment I saw my wife, Sarah, walking down that long hallway, everything inside me went cold. She wasn't just pregnant, she looked 6, maybe 7 months along. She was holding her belly in that protective, proud way, like she wanted the whole world to see it. And the look on her face when she saw me, pure, cold triumph. It was the look of someone who had finally cornered me in a trap I didn't even know she was building. My attorney leaned in and whispered, "Did you know about this?" I just shook my head. I couldn't have known. We hadn't been intimate in over a year, which meant whoever she was carrying inside her wasn't mine. It was a biological impossibility. We entered the courtroom and Sarah immediately began her performance. The tearful eyes, the gentle, almost constant rubbing of her belly, the sad, mournful glances she'd throw in my direction. Then her lawyer stood up and launched into this perfectly rehearsed speech. He used words like abandonment, serious health complications, and the unborn child this man refuses to take responsibility for. I could feel the judge's eyes on me, heavy with judgment. He was looking at me like I was the worst kind of human garbage. Sarah sniffled dramatically, resting her hand on her stomach again for emphasis. Then her lawyer delivered the final blow. He claimed I knew all about the pregnancy, that had happened during a supposed reconciliation attempt. That was it. Something inside me just snapped. I stood up, my own lawyer's hand on my arm trying to pull me back down, but I didn't care. I looked straight at the judge and said the one sentence that would blow her entire scheme to pieces. "Your Honor, I've had a vasectomy since 2018, I can prove. I cannot biologically father any child." The courtroom went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I watched Sarah's face just collapse. The triumph vanished, replaced by a wave of pure panic, confusion, and horror, all bleeding together. I walked forward and handed the judge a folder. It was a folder I'd been carrying around for months, not even really knowing why I kept it so close. Inside were my surgical records, the follow-up reports, and 2 separate lab tests confirming total and complete sterility. Sarah's lawyer stared at her, his face a mask of disbelief. He looked like she had just taken a grenade and detonated their entire case. The judge examined every single page, his expression shifting from suspicion to understanding. Then he looked directly at Sarah. "Mrs. Peterson," he asked, his voice firm, "were you aware of this procedure?" She started to shake, trying to find her voice. He never told me," she stammered. "This is impossible." I quietly explained to the court that yes, we had been intimate after the procedure, but intimacy doesn't automatically mean fertility. Her entire story, this elaborate lie she had constructed, was crumbling in front of everyone. Her lawyer immediately called for a recess. As they left the courtroom, I watched him whispering furiously at her while she just stared at the floor, avoiding his eyes completely. But this courtroom explosion, this moment of truth, didn't just happen overnight. It was the climax of years of betrayal. We got married back in 2015. We were happy, or so I thought. We built a life, bought a house, shared dreams for the future. Then, in 2017, everything changed. I was diagnosed with Huntington's disease. It's a devastating genetic condition that slowly destroys your brain and your body. I watched my own father die from it. There's a 50% chance of passing it to your children, and I refuse to risk putting a child through that nightmare. When I told Sarah, she said she understood. She promised we could adopt, or we could just focus on our life together. She promised it didn't matter. She lied. By 2018, I started finding fertility brochures left around the house. I caught her researching embryo screening. We started arguing constantly about how I was denying her motherhood. Then I made a horrifying discovery. I found her search history. She had been actively looking up how to sabotage our birth control. She was tracking her ovulation cycles, asking strangers in online forums how to accidentally get pregnant without her husband finding out. The trust was gone. That same night, I scheduled a vasectomy. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because I finally understood that she was willing to steal a child from me, to trap me against my will and risk passing on this terrible disease. But before I could even tell her about the procedure, she demanded a divorce. She claimed she couldn't waste any more time on a man who would and give her what she wanted. I prepared for the end. But then, a few months later, her lover, her boss, Marcus, was transferred overseas. Suddenly, she came crawling back. She begged for reconciliation. She wanted to try again. And for almost a year, I actually believed her. We went to therapy, we had dinners, we made plans. I genuinely thought she wanted to repair our marriage. Then one night, she was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced over, and the screen was lit up with messages. Messages from Marcus, old ones, new ones, months of them. I miss you. I want you. I can't wait to be back. She had been cheating on me for 2 years. Before my diagnosis, during all our arguments about children, throughout her manipulative attempts to get pregnant, and even during our supposed reconciliation, she only came back to me because her lover had temporarily left the country. I confronted her as soon as she got out of the shower. She didn't deny it. She didn't even show a shred of guilt. She tried to justify it, saying Marcus wanted children, that he understood her in a way I couldn't. Every word felt like a knife twisting deeper. I filed for divorce the very next morning. And that's what led us to the courthouse. She knew she couldn't get what she wanted from me in a normal divorce settlement. So she hatched a plan. She showed up pregnant with another man's child, her lover's child, and tried to pass it off as mine. She planned the dress, the timing, the fake health complications, the entire emotional performance. She thought she could manipulate a judge in a courtroom the same way she had manipulated me for years. But my vasectomy, the one secret I had kept to protect myself, destroyed that fantasy in seconds. After the hearing, her own attorney dropped her case. He refused to be associated with her level of deception. And Marcus? As soon as he found out she'd tried to pass his child off as mine in a court of law, he cut all contact and fled overseas for good. The final, bizarre chapter came a few weeks later. Her own sister came to see me. She apologized for everything, explaining that Sarah had finally confessed the entire scheme to her family. The affair, the deception, the pregnancy trap, all of it. It was a painful, ugly end to what I once thought was a beautiful story. But in that courtroom, surrounded by the wreckage of her lies, I finally felt free. Thanks for listening to my story. If you found this compelling, please like and subscribe for more.